Hey guys, Keith here, back with another Bitcoin video. Bitcoin seems to be maybe breaking out for real. I don't know yet. It's only been a few hours. Let's actually flip it onto the hour. It's okay. It's been like 1 hour. We're on to the second hour, so who knows? It could be another fake out, but I think that it could be a real one. Like obviously, I don't expect it to just break up and just go up, right? Like it would make more sense to break up, back test it, and then go. So seeing a small pullback probably is for the better, but you can see that Bitcoin has been ranging between 35 really and like 38K for kind of a while now. Flipping onto the 4 hourly just for a better view, but we've actually been up here for kind of a while. We kind of started this range, you can maybe say, for about 20 days. So actually kind of a while, almost a month. And you can see that we kind of have been putting in this ascending triangle, which technically does break up to the upside. I think it's like an 80-20 ratio. 80% of the time it breaks up, 20% of the time it breaks down. And so it would make more sense for us to break up anyways. But also the fact that we're now, it's been like multiple tests, right? Like one here, two, 3, 4. Maybe you can count this one if you want, but 4, and then like maybe this is the 5th time, right? And most of these patterns, like most of the time, this pattern actually breaks. It usually breaks after around 4 or 5 tests, right? So this is like the 5th test, maybe the 6th. So it would make sense that we're breaking it now. I mean, the more times you keep hitting, you can only like hit a level so many times before you finally break it, right? And I don't know if this is gonna sustain or last. Or I don't know if it's gonna be a fake out again. I don't really think that it would be a fake out again, personally. Just from what I've seen in Bitcoin, we already got a fake out and then we came back down, which by the way was, kind of a big move. It wasn't that big. It was about a 4.5% move down. So it wasn't anything massive, but we did actually already fake out and we came back down, and now Bitcoin's coming back up at it again. So I actually think that this one could, it definitely has more of a chance to actually break out than this one did, but we'll have to see. It just really broke out like an hour ago. Yeah, it just broke out. And so I think that it makes a lot of sense that Bitcoin's breaking up. Not only because of the pattern that tends, 80% chance it does break up, but just the fact that we've been in this situation, I think, for a while with this narrative of the ETF. We also have the halving coming up. You can't forget, like, I really do think that's a really strong narrative that I think the ETF is kind of like taking more of attention, but the halving is coming up. It's in April and it's about to be December, so maybe it's around like 5 months away. So we do have really good narratives. The ETF narrative, of course, is probably the strongest one right now, but the narrative for Bitcoin is definitely there. And I think that what we're seeing now is actually just, there are just no sellers in the market. That's why Bitcoin is just slowly grinding up. If you take a look at the volume, actually, you can actually see that Bitcoin honestly has no volume right now, if we're to be completely real. Like, let's actually move this up and then let's zoom out. So yeah, you can kind of see, like, in relation to the history of Bitcoin, we have been putting in absolutely no volume since the bear market started. I mean, you can even say it started after the first peak of 65K. So even the second run up was really on no volume, and we basically had no volume. A couple like spikes, and honestly, all these spikes are just collapses, right? Like this is the Luna collapse spike right here. This one's the Luna collapse. You can see that. This is the FTX collapse. So the spikes that we see are, pretty bad, honestly. So, yeah, the fact that Bitcoin's rising with zero volume is definitely something to be concerned about. But I think that most people, if you still own Bitcoin right now, you're probably not selling anytime soon. I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin anytime soon. If you held Bitcoin throughout this entire move, you're probably someone who's expecting Bitcoin to go to around 100K. I mean, that is like the new narrative for the bull market's probably going to be the 100K, which it was in in 2021, but I think that there's a way better chance that we get to it now that we failed in 2021. But I think most people at this point are just holding on to their Bitcoin. If you were gonna get shaken out of your Bitcoin, you probably sold it, during this downward movement, or maybe like a couple of these downward movements, right? Like maybe you got shaken out here, but in my opinion, most people probably didn't. I think that was a huge reason why Bitcoin didn't actually break 25K here, was because the people who, the only way Bitcoin's going to go down if people sell, right? You need to have more coins in the market. It's supply and demand, right? So the fact that we were able to hold the 25K level when Bitcoin, it seemed like it was going to break it, but it just couldn't do it, is because there's just no one who wanted to sell it at that point anymore. And now that we got rid of all those like paper hands or whatever you want to call those people, it makes sense that even though we have no volume, that Bitcoin's just going to go up because there's no sellers. So at this point, the only kind of volume we're getting are buyers. I do think that sometimes like whales are trying to dump on us. Like I've seen a couple like tweets about whales dumping, but it really hasn't affected Bitcoin that much. Bitcoin's just been eating it up really quickly, and it's definitely the narrative. I think that if you take a look at the fear and greed index, if we bring it up real quick, you can actually see that we're at 68 right now, which is greed. We've been in greed for a while, like for an entire month now. We've just been in greed. If you take a look at the last 3 months, we basically spiked up to like the 60s and 70s in October. So October 23rd, which is like really, it makes sense because this was October 23rd, right? This huge candle, the candle that broke us above 32K, and we're setting in new yearly highs. So it makes sense that the fear and greed has basically been in greed ever since we put it in. So people are starting to get greedy. It is kind of, and maybe another concerning thing, but Bitcoin can be in greed for a long, long time. So I don't really think that's anything to be worried about, but it is something to keep in mind. And it actually makes a lot of sense that we're breaking out from this. So I've been talking about this like candle wick theory or whatever. I don't know if it's an actual like technical like analysis thing, but every time Bitcoin like puts in these huge wicks, either upside or downside, it works either way. But we'll look at the upside for these examples. So you can see that we had a huge wick to 38K, and then we ended up closing at 36.7, right? And then it took Bitcoin a couple of days, but we did end up coming back up to it. And that's what I was saying. I think I made a video on this day where I was like, okay, we wicked up, and Bitcoin, I don't know if it's going to go up immediately, but eventually it probably is going to come back up to test 38K, and we did. Like I think this was like a couple of days later. Like 6 or 7 days, like a week later, about a week it took us, but we ended up coming back down, or coming back to it. We did get a huge sell-off. These were probably like liquidations and stop losses and stuff like that, and we did end up putting a wick again, kind of big. I mean, this wasn't as big, but we wicked up to 38.4, and then we ended up closing it at 37.7. And it only took us like 3 or 4 days. This is like the 4th day now, right? And we're coming back up to test this wick again. So, my opinion, this was no surprise. Pairing that with the fact that this type of pattern breaks to the upside, like I said, 80-20, and that the wick was, you compare that with the wick theory or whatever, like it was almost certain that Bitcoin was going to come back up to this level again. So I don't really think it's any surprise. I think that Bitcoin could still push up to 41, around 41K. I think breaking the 40K level psychologically for the market would be massive, even if we do get a huge sell-off. And we're going to talk about the huge sell-off because I think we're going to get one eventually. I don't know when, but Bitcoin is definitely going to get a sell-off at some point. But the 41K level is just so interesting because you can actually see how important it was in the market. When we first broke 20K and we were rising up to 65K in the bull market of 2021, this is where the market actually turned. And we fell back down to where? 32 or 29 to 32 level. Like this box is around 30 to 32, but you can maybe say we could wick down to like 29. And I think that's really possible for us to even do soon. I'll talk about that in a sec, but you can see we came back down to around 30K, let's just say around 30K. This was a pretty big sell-off, right? Like 41 to 30K, 26% on average. Like you can maybe say we wicked down even farther, around a 30% sell-off. So we saw a 30% sell-off, and then from that 30% sell-off, we got like the push up to 65K, right? And then the May sell-off happened, like this was like May 19th or whatever, like when the market's tanked like 50%. We came back down to 30K, and we bounced from 30K back up to 41K came back down to like 29. So like this 41 to 29, 30K, whatever you want to say it is actually not, it's not out of the question. Like I do think we might actually see it again. We've already done it 2 times in a bull market, and I don't even know if we're in a bull market right now. I still think this could be a bear market rally. I don't know. Like maybe we are in a bull market, but we've already seen it happen in a bull market. So even when things are going super well, we can still get a massive sell from 42 to around 30K, right? Then we bounced off of like 29.5, came back up to around 41, found a little bit of resistance for a little bit, and then we broke up, right? In September, we came back down to 42, another like test of the 42 level. Then we got our bounce to 69K. Then we were even bouncing around here a little bit, like in the March of 2022. Wasn't as clear back then, but in 2021, 41K was definitely a really clear level, 41 to 30K, and we tested it multiple times. And so coming back to it now, I think there's a chance that Bitcoin can push up to 42 or around 41.8. And if we did, and we saw self all the way back down to 30K, I wouldn't surprise me at all. And it's actually something I'm looking for. Like I don't really know when we're gonna get a sell-off, but I do think coming back down to around 30K is going to happen. Because 30K to me is like the new 25K, where in the summer, basically for 200 days we ranged from about 25K to 32K, right? Actually, let's go back even further real quick. First, let's like talk about what happened after Luna. We came all the way, after the Luna collapse, we basically, this was like the Luna collapse was like somewhere here or here, I can't remember where, but basically Luna like took us all the way back down to like 17K, right? We bounced up to 25. Couldn't break it, came back down. This was the FTX collapse. Then we put in our like low. This might be the bear market low of around 15K. Then after the January rally, we still couldn't break it. We still got rejected at it one more time. But this time Bitcoin was like, no, I'm gonna break through it. And then it ended up, after getting rejected, it just broke right through it. So we got, what, 2 rejections at it, right? It held resistance twice. Pretty big resistance too. It wasn't even like a small like bounce. Like these bounces down were pretty big, right? We ended up going all the way 40% down on the first one, 38. This one was around a 22%. So pretty big drops from that level. And then when we finally broke it, we couldn't get above the 32K level, right? So this one came to around 30K, and even this drop from 30K to 25K was 20%, right? And like it made a lot of sense why we would bounce at 25K. Why? Because this is the level that we just could not break. And now it's going to be support, right? Once you break resistance, it turns into support. And this was definitely strong resistance, so it was pretty strong support. Then from there, we bounced up to 30. We put in like the yearly high, which I honestly thought was going to be the 2023 yearly high. I didn't really expect us to break above this after the summer, and I saw that it just couldn't break. Because we had so many good chances. Like, I don't want to get into it, but like there's so many good chances Bitcoin could have broken out. There's so much going on here, and we still couldn't do it. So I was like, all right, we're not going to break it, but I mean, we know now that we broke it. But anyways, we came to it again, and we still came all the way back down to 25K again. So we touched it twice as resistance, then we touched it twice as support, and then we got the bounce that broke above 32K. And now look, we couldn't break it here, basically resistance twice. To me, it makes a lot of sense that we come back and hold this as support. Eventually, I don't know how high we go. We can go like like 45, 46K. I could even see us breaking to like 46. Maybe we don't even hit 40K and we come back down a lot sooner. But regardless of when it happens, because I don't know when it happens, like it might not even happen until 2024. Like maybe just all year we're kind of going up to the end of the year of 2023, and then 2024 happens and we start getting a sell-off. But eventually I do think we will come back down to test around 32 to 30K. And I have a feeling that if we do that, then it's probably going to hold, probably a good time to stack some more Bitcoin. I don't know, maybe even like take a long if you want, like if you're trading it, if you maybe even use a little bit of leverage if you want to. I don't think it'd be a bad area to use leverage at. But yeah, that's just Bitcoin right now. It looks like we are coming down a little bit. If we flip back onto the 1 hourly, this to me is fine. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that we would probably, if we are going to truly break out of this, right, we're probably going to actually back test it and then go up. So to me, it's nothing like to be, a small pullback right now makes a lot of sense. It would worry me if we came back down underneath it like how we did here. came underneath it, and then we just couldn't hold it, right? We couldn't get it back above it. So give it a few hours. I think we'll know what Bitcoin's gonna do by the end of the day. Really, I don't really like if Bitcoin's still up here at the end of the day. Like we're probably going up, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. So let's take a look at some indicators real quick. Let's take a look at the Ichimoku on the 4-hourly. Really good. I mean, I was honestly expecting Bitcoin to retest this trend line, and it would have made a lot of sense before going up. Like this move down here, that was gonna go here, test the Ichimoku and the trend line, and then I thought we were gonna break up. We didn't get that. We broke up way earlier, so just gotta wait for the next opportunity. Ichimoku though is looking really good on the 4-hourly. You can see we've already held it multiple times to support, and it's still like a decent sized cloud. So we definitely have support. It's still ranging right now between around 37 and 36.4. So just definitely room for Bitcoin to drop and still find support. And even honestly, even if we do drop back down in here, not only do we have the Ichimoku, but we still have the bottom of this ascending triangle trend line that I think would hold anyway. So I think Bitcoin's still in a really good spot right now. On the daily Ichimoku, we're way above it. I mean, this Ichimoku cloud is above the 30 to 32K level. So if we were to actually get to it, we'd actually be going below the cloud. So the daily Ichimoku also looks pretty good. And then let's just take a look at the bull market real quick, where it's at. And the bull market's actually in that range between 30 and 32. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna come up pretty quick as well. It's probably, if we like extrapolate the lines a little bit further, I don't know, maybe something like this, right? It kind of looks like it's doing something like this. So it's moving up pretty quickly. And I think that the next time Bitcoin comes back down to the bull market support band, it'll be a huge test to see if we can hold it. Because honestly, typically during a bull market, Bitcoin holds a bull market support band, right? Like, I mean, it was doing it all year too. Like, we just wicked to it down here in March, and then we didn't even like close the week. Like, we still closed these weekly candles at the support band. Like, I know we wicked below it, and then we basically held it here again in June. And then we did fall below it here. So when we fell below it here, I did think that Bitcoin was gonna get rejected and come back down because we fell below it, but it turned it around, right? And not only did it turn around, we came to it, we held it as support right here, and then we blasted off, right? So bull market support band was basically doing bull market support things, and I think Bitcoin's in a great spot still. And I still think that we could push up to around 40 in the 40s before we even see any significant pullback, but I am almost certain that we will see some sort of significant pullback in Bitcoin just because it does it all the time. And 32K, 30 to 32K, maybe even breaking down to like 29 point something just to scare out people, I think is really like, it's something that we can't fade. And it's actually the level that I'm looking at. I'm still going to play to the upside because that's what Bitcoin's playing. But when I do see some sort of huge pullback come, then the area that I'm going to be looking at to take another long at will probably be around 29 to 30K, 32K. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.